Alright everybody, welcome back to another video. So today we are adding some additional lights. If you follow me on Instagram, you saw a little sneak peek of this yesterday. I got a new light bar here. It's from F150 LEDs. Now if you're not familiar with this company, they're an online company. They make lights for the Raptor, for all F-150s. It's not only fog lights and light bars like we're installing today. This is a 42-inch curved light bar. And this is going to go right on top of the bumper here. Alright guys, I got this in the mail yesterday, so I was pretty excited. I already opened it to take a peek. Like I said, I did a little preview picture of it just sitting on my bumper on Instagram. So if you don't follow me on Instagram, do that. I have the same username as on YouTube here. It's flyby804. Flyby804. Alright, so let's just pop this thing open again so I can show you. And it's been so hot out here, I put the fan running, so hopefully you can hear me over the fan. One thing I like about F-150 LEDs is they they include the wiring harness with this. So you don't have to worry about running the wires and all that kind of nonsense. It comes with a great harness. It's coated with a braiding here, which is very durable, and more than long enough. You also have your waterproof connectors, which are really nice. Basically, you're going to hook these right up to your battery. Red is positive, the black is negative. You've got a relay there. It looks like you've got an inline fuse right there also. And then with the Raptor, because the Raptor already has the switches inside the cabin, the auxiliary switches, all you have to do is connect this to one of your switches. Now, the first two switches are 15 amps, I think, and then the next two drop down to 10, and the last two are 5s. So I need to find a switch. I'm going to probably hook this up to 1, and I can't remember what I have on number 1 right now. I'm going to move that over. So anyway, so you get the wiring harness, which is nice. You get a little box of hardware, which is going to be your mounting brackets, the screws, and even a little quick connect to hook up that blue wire to the auxiliary wire that's underneath the hood. So everything you need is in there. They even include the little Allen wrench in order to tighten down the screws on the brackets. Heck, they even thought about including a couple zip ties so that you can tidy up the wiring when it's underneath, so it's all tucked away and looks nice and professional. So let's pull out this bar. This thing is really nice. Everything was packaged good, lots of foam, no problems there. If you look at the wiring coming out of the bar, you'll see again it's that waterproof connector, like automotive type connector. So you push them together and then they screw tight to complete that waterproof seal. Real nice, slick looking light bar. It's black, so it's going to blend really well with the front of the car. It's not going to stick out. It's going to be nice, low profile. It's got 2 brackets, like I said. The first thing I'm going to do is connect those brackets to the end of the light bar so I can position the bar exactly where I want it. So real quick, let me show you what you're getting in the package here. Don't get confused with everything else on the table. So you're getting 2 of the larger bolts. You're getting the spring washers and the flat washers. And then with the longer ones, these are the ones that are going to go through the bumper and hold the bracket to the bumper. These are the ones that hold the bracket to the light bar. And again, in this one you're going to have nuts because you're going to have to get underneath and put those in. I'll show you how to do it. But for those of you that don't know, first you take the bolt. The spring washer should be against the bolt. Then the flat washer. And then that would go on the outside here of the bracket and then screwed into the light bar. Alright guys, so real quick, this is going to be much easier if you have 2 people. Because the front bumper is a little bit slanted downward. It's not a perfectly flat surface. So if you don't have someone else to hold this and center it for you, it's going to be really difficult. I don't have anyone else except for my dog, and I think he's pooping. So here's what I've done. I've improvised a little bit. So for you guys that are going to do this by yourselves, you don't have an extra set of hands, Maybe you want to do it this way. It's completely up to you. But what I did was I had some additional zip ties. So I ran one through the honeycomb grill on each side and made a loop. Then I brought another one around the front of the light bars. I was holding it up there and went through here and did it on both sides so that the light bar is being supported by these zip ties. Now you don't want to go too tight, because if I can show you here, what you do want to do is make sure your bracket is going to be against the bumper. If you go too tight, it's starting to rock it up. So I kind of set the bar where it was shooting straight. If you're not careful, you might be on too much of a downward angle with the light bar, even though it looks like your brackets are perpendicular with it. So you need to keep track of that. I ended up sticking the terry cloth in here, the microfiber, just to kind of give some support in the middle of the bar so it would stay put. Now, in order to center it, what I was doing is I'm basing it off of the center camera. I know that's the center of my grill. So while looking down on it, I put the tape directly in the middle of that light bar, that camera, and I put a little pencil mark in the middle of that tape. Then I took a tape measure and I measured from that point. I used a point of reference. You can use any point of reference on the end, but I used the end of the bracket. So a measurement from there to this end of the bracket, and from that point to there to this end of the bracket should be an equal measurement. I've got them near perfect. I think as perfect as I'm going to get them. And if you look, it looks pretty good. Plus, if you from this angle, from an eye level angle with the bar, it's coming straight at me, which is what I want. I don't want it pointing upwards, and I really don't want it down. Maybe slightly down more than up, but that can be adjusted once these brackets are mounted and as a final step with the installation. All right, guys, another quick note here. Because of the angle of this bumper and the way these brackets don't sit just perfectly flat on there, there's no way to just take one piece of tape and line it up here and here. You know, if this was a flat surface and it was laying flat, then yeah, you could do that. But when you're coming off of a curve on a slope here, there's no way to put an exact piece of tape there. So here's what I've decided to do. I'm using electrical tape because I think this is the strongest tape to do it. I'm not sure if the painter's tape would have held, but I am using a lot of tape and I am taping down this bracket exactly where I want it. And I did the same thing over here. Now don't skimp on the tape. You don't want that bracket to move. My intention here is to now unscrew the bracket from the light bar and remove the light bar without moving these brackets. Fingers crossed. And then what I will do is I will mark my hole. I may have taped over it, but I can punch through it, and I will mark the hole where I need to drill and put my hole so that I can put my bolt through there. So again, tape these brackets down as best you can, and don't attempt to go to the next step until they are secure, because otherwise you're going to have to start all over. And as long as they're taped down and they're not going to move, then you can remove this light bar, hopefully, leaving those brackets in place, marking the spot we need to drill our hole, and then bolt down these brackets. So let's give it a shot. All right, guys, so I removed the light bar, and I have managed to keep the brackets taped down and pretty secure. So I just took a marker, I put a dot in the middle of that innermost hole. That's the one that you're going to bolt down. Now what we need to do in order to get to the underside of this is take this front grill off. If you've never done it before, it's not too hard. The first time is always the hardest, and then I guess the brackets kind of loosen up a little bit. So if you don't have the plastic pry tools, they're like $9 for a set on Amazon. I recommend you get them. They come in very handy. If not, you can use a screwdriver. I might put a cloth over it or something like that. I do have the kit. This is the kit I have. Again, I got it from Amazon. It was like $6-7. It's nice. It's got 8 different tools in it. Okay, guys, I have to dub over this. I had some audio problems and a lot of background noise, and a little bit jerkiness with the camera there. So basically what you saw me do was remove that lower grill. with those tools I showed you. Just take your time, start at one corner and slowly pry them off. Once you do get that lower bumper off, you have access to the underneath of the bumper basically, so that you can tighten up the nuts on those brackets. So that's what I did. You saw me drilling holes also. It does require 2 holes, one on the left, one on the right, 1 hole for each bracket. So I removed the bracket, I drilled the holes, I tightened up the nuts so that those brackets were nice and secure. And now what you see me doing is reattaching the light bar. And this will be the final attachment here. So basically there's a screw on the left and on the right, and the light bar is held in by those 2 brackets. So you tighten those down really good. You know, you might want to take some Loctite. I didn't do that, but I'm going to go back and do it, I think, just to make sure that those things don't loosen up. But if you remember correctly, there's 2 washers. There's a flat washer and then that spring washer, or a locking washer they're called, and that's supposed to prevent those bolts from coming loose. So as you see here, I am tightening those down. At this point you can adjust that bar to either direct the light a little bit more upward or downward, but you can always go back and redo that. Maybe you want to do it when it's a little darker, but this bar is so bright you could do it against a wall or a garage door during the day, I think. I kind of eyeballed it and then went back and made a few little tweaks to that as it got darker. So alright, I'm not going to bore you anymore with this part of the installation. That's simple. That's just remounting the light bar like I said, and we will jump forward to the electrical connections. Okay guys, now for the electrical. So this is supposed to feed right through this hole right here. Obviously this is the hardest part. Once you hammer that in, come down, and that is a nice clean. That's not an issue. Getting that plug through there is going to take some manipulation. Maybe you want to lube it up with a little something and try to slide it in. A little bit of car wash soap or something like that. I really tried to lift it up. What I ended up doing was fishing it into backwards like you saw. It's easier to push that way than try to push this way. But anyway, let's move on. Once you feed your harness down, you'll find a way to manipulate it through. I didn't even have to physically do anything. I was able to drop it down and it did come down. These are nice IP68 connections, real nice. So there's only one way to put these in. There's a little notch. So basically, pull that back out of your way. Make sure your little red gaskets are there. That's going to make sure it does stay waterproof. And you push them together. Then you'll just take this cap, and if they're straight, they will line up, and you should be able to thread them together. There we go. And just make sure that they're threaded all the way to that red washer, and that will compress a little bit. There we go. Good, nice and tight. Now what we'll do is from the top, we'll pull this back up. I don't know if you can see what I wrote there, but for the 2018 it was different than the 17, and I don't know if the 19 changed again, but for switch number 1 it's the green white wire, fuse location 12, so green white wire. I already have, one of my pods has the yellow light ring, so I put that on 1. I'm going to leave that with the light bar on 1, so they'll both come on. So we're in the middle of the day here, and I can see how bright that is. I mean, it's insanely bright. And if you kind of look in the corners there, you can see those yellow pods on the outside. A little bit of yellow. that thing is bright. And it looks pretty cool. Now, of course, we'll get some more shots of this at nighttime. But you can see it's a clean look. I think the quality is awesome. The LEDs are bright as heck. It looks nice. It's slick. It's low profile. But that's the Paladin series light bar. Very thin. It's 42-inch curved. What I'm gonna do is just tidy up under the hood, put that cover back on, and I'm all done. I'm not gonna bore you guys with that. But listen, thanks a lot for tuning in. I do appreciate it. Maybe some of you guys notice I'm wearing a ManSport hat also. ManSports is a newer online supplement company. As a matter of fact, I think they are starting to sell their supplements at the Vitamin Company now, I believe, or Vitamin Shop. You could Google that and find out. If any of you guys are into fitness and maybe looking for some supplements, whether it be protein or creatine or a daily vitamin, they got a whole line of stuff. And it's not just for men. The name is ManSports. A lot of women take it. It's really geared towards the individual, the active individual. It doesn't have to be an athlete or a pro kickboxer or anything like that. They really are gearing themselves to the ordinary, everyday guy or gal that is athletic, works out, cares for themselves, and just wants to go to that next level. If you're interested, check it out. My code is FLYBY804. You put that in, you'll save 10% on your first purchase. The same name as my channel, FLYBY804. Pop that in, and you'll get 10% off your first order. Well, so one more thing, but don't limit yourself to this company by just this bumper light bar. They have a lot of other really good stuff. Their pod lights are amazing. They have a reverse pod light that not just shoots forward, but it's got some side LEDs that shoot to the side and really light up the way. They have some cool stuff for the interior of the Raptor or your F-150. If it's an F-150, whether it be a Raptor or an XL or whatever it is, they've got some lights for it. They've got interior ambient lighting, cup holder lighting, you name it, check them out. So it's F150LEDs.com. All right, y'all, see you later.